So 45. Yes. Okay. Welcome to the Fine Roots podcast. Today, we're going over rise after defeat. And in this post, it's a good one. Today's the good one. Yesterday was I didn't do one yesterday because it will be revealed in this journal. So let's dive right into it. So the entire theme for today's journal is essentially embracing the ups and the downs of life, the rise after defeat, the rising phoenix, if you will. And so in this post, I start off by talking about the metaphor of a tree that grows in harsh conditions, like a pine tree. And pine trees are designed differently to be specifically for instance, the pine trees are in a cone shape. That way it can when it rains, the water doesn't soak onto the leaves as much as a regular tree, and it has needles instead of leaves, so the water retention is is greater, because if you have a flat leaf, the water retention is less. So the needles, it allows the tree to absorb more water, and it can hold more water to survive the harsh conditions. So trees everywhere, depending on where you go, trees has its own kind of its own design to survive the environment, its conditions, its surroundings. So talking about trees kind of got me thinking about how people in life, we are dealt with certain cards from the day that we're born. Some are not as favorable as others, whereas some cards are very favorable. But if you sit in a table with, let's say, 5 people, and if you have the best cards that there is to the table, does not necessarily mean that you will win. Someone who has less favorable card can win, can have the ability to win if you know how to play it right, is essentially how it comes down to. And it comes down to how it's being played, not what is being played, but how it's played. So, let's say that someone has the best cards that's dealt, but they don't have the guts to, let's say, play the cards. Whereas someone who has no cards at all, but they're able to play it off as if they do have the greatest card, which makes the greatest hand dealt themselves, for instance, and they eventually get defeated because they don't play their cards to the best of their ability. So going back briefly with the tree, that it doesn't matter where it is, it will use whatever it has available, and it will grow and thrive to its best of its ability. If it doesn't do that, then it's no longer here. And kind of reminds me of survival of the fittest. But luckily for us humans, we have the choice to choose our endeavors, like which road, which path we want to embark on. We have the freedom to choose. So this comes to a full circle of what I went through yesterday, or a couple of days ago, because I committed myself to a path, and that path is the things that interest me. And I finally narrowed it down to what I found to be interesting, and I was like, why am I focusing on things that doesn't matter? So I put everything else to the side and just honed in on things that I found to be interesting. So, which is life, philosophy, and pretty much anything that has to do with life. Humans, growth, how to lift the spirit up, anything that has to do with life and how to better one's life, essentially. So I'm embarking on this journey. My first day, I felt the fire, and then suddenly the next day, which was yesterday, I felt some sort of discouragement because I committed myself to write a blog every day and do a podcast every day. And then yesterday, no matter what I was writing, it just didn't feel like, it had like this blur in my head. It just didn't feel like it came off that easily. Some days I can just write and then it just works. Whereas some days, like yesterday, it does not work. And I was doing recordings and it just didn't feel right. I kept doing recordings and part of me felt like, this is not it. This is not it. And I kept doing, I did like 4 total. And the more I'm doing the recording, I know that I'm burning myself, because the more that I do something and it doesn't go the way that I want to, I know that I'm heading down to like a rabbit hole. So when I got to the 4th one, I had to stop. I had to be like, okay, you know what? I maybe I can do a recording every day, but maybe not post it every day. So that was the conclusion I came to yesterday. So I did write the post, not my proudest, but I had to just at least do a post and maybe not post a recording like a podcast, for instance. So that was that, and which brought me to today. This morning, for instance, I was thinking about, okay, so what should I do today? And the moment I think about what to do, it's already heading down the wrong path. So I stopped myself. I was like, okay, you know what? Don't think about what to do. Just do it. So I took a step back and I had to ask myself, okay, what do you want to do? What do you feel like doing? So I looked out the window. The weather looks good. The weather, it's cloudy, overcast, and it's these kind of days where it makes me feel like I just want to go out. So I did. So I looked up a place and I found one. I just scrolling through. I didn't think too much. I found one that looked really nice, like a cafe. And I just found one and it looked nice. I was like, you know what? I'll go here. And then I got there and it was a hidden gem. Like I think I've seen this place before, but it just didn't catch my eye. But I got there. Tiny little place that's hidden. It's tucked away in a corner. You have to go down this alley and it's just a tiny place. You can barely park your bike there. So I got there and the price was right. So that was a check mark. Then the vibe was a check mark. That was really nice. And I got down and I got thinking, I'll start to think. I was like, okay, so what do I write about? And again, when I think about something, I have to take a step back and say, okay, hold on. What do you want to write about? What is interesting to you? So I pumped the brakes and then I was like, okay, you know what? Okay. I wonder how a pine tree works. There you go. That's how this post started, and that's how everything unfold based on the interest. So it comes down to bringing it all back together again, like a tree that grows in its environment, that's despite its conditions or weather, it has to grow. But there are days or seasons where it has to do something that doesn't involve growing. Maybe not on top, but maybe on the bottom. So in a way that yesterday was a day of defeat, but no matter how many times I get knocked down, I just have to get back on my feet and grow from it. And here's a perfect example with playing a card. So for instance, if I play a card and I lose, one, I can feel discouraged and decide to hide, or two, I can feel motivated and then get back or learn from why I lost, how can I improve on what I did. So there's a choice that we can make, whether we want to get back up or to stay down. It's up to us. And so depending on the cards that we're dealt with, we can it's up to us how we want to play it. But more interestingly, because we all have the choice to do whatever we want to do, we can choose which game to play. So the game that I decide to play in life that I find to be enjoyable, hence why I'm playing it, is life, or the topic of life. So I'm in this topic and I'm playing this, I'm learning this, I'm growing about this topic. And different people have different interests. So whatever that interests you, you can play that game. So just know that there are days where we have to lose. We can't win all the time. There's no king that rules forever, and there's no nation that rules forever. Anything that goes up must come down. So that is just a part of the journey that I have to accept, or anyone's journey. So essentially it comes down to, but when we do get defeated, what do? That is the pinnacle moment of whether we are going to evolve or dissolve. Like a tree, if it doesn't want to evolve, it has to dissolve. And that's what it comes down to. So essentially, taking action and deciding what we want to do. And that's what this whole post is about. And if you made it this far into the video, I will want to wish you the greatest and the best. And just know that whatever that is your interest and whatever path you're embarking on, just know that we will fall. But when you do, it's part of the process. But when we fall, either one, we can stay down or get back up. But when we do get back up, are we going to run away, or are we going to face it again or learn from it? So what do we pull out of that lesson of falling, of defeat, is how we grow. So that is it for today. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, cheers.